Our final keynote of Shop Talk, please welcome the CEO of Boxed, Chieh Huang.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for sticking around for the festivities today. I am the last speaker, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There's only about 20 minutes that we have together before we all go to the airport and wait for our delayed and canceled flights back to the East Coast. So I'll see all of you guys in the lounge. And then when I go sit back in my economy seat, I'll wave to everyone in the front of the plane. And I love how they make you do that. When I was flying here last night, I saw the deck that our team had put together, and then I had that typical CEO moment where I was like, no, all wrong, all wrong. And I just thought it's the last day of a really wonderful conference here in Vegas, so why not have a little fun with it? And so Boxed, as some of you guys know, as hopefully all of you guys will know over the next 20 minutes or so, is basically an online stock up and save platform. So we're an online warehouse club. So we only sell the large format items, limited SKU. We deliver it to your house, usually in 2 days or less, for about 90% of our population. We've raised hundreds of millions of dollars to date, fulfillment centers all over the US, but it all didn't start that way. So everyone loves a typical kind of American dream story, so here we go. Everyone loves to say, man, I want to start a company in my garage one day. I want to start a band in my garage one day. Well, I was 31 years old when we started this in my garage. So this was the actual garage. So picture me, 31 years old, about 4.5 years ago, sitting there, and when friends and family would come over, I'd say, this is the great box. And they're like, oh, this is unemployment. So you really have to think twice about your life choices, Chieh. And the worst part, people ask all the time, what was the worst part about Boxed? It was sitting here with that Dell desktop, not that Dell's bad, but just I was sitting there, I'd rather use a Mac, but sitting there, my mother-in-law comes, she's already not a big fan of me, and she sees this, and she's like, I knew you weren't the one. And I was like, oh man, if I didn't love your daughter so much. But things started to grow a bit, and we started kind of expanding. So friends and neighbors started getting hired, folks from our previous companies. So this was our first version of our fulfillment center. So you started seeing us putting up racks. S.C. Johnson stuff went under the tables over there. And then things started to really grow. And then as we started to hit our stride, these pallets started getting dropped on my driveway. And you could see in the background, it's a typical suburban neighborhood in central New Jersey, the cradle of civilization. And so if you stalk me, please don't, but you can find my home address. And there's still this old Google Street View map kind of picture where it has this 40-foot pod container on my house where all the P&G stuff used to go into. And so at this time, there was no parking up and down the street, 20 people in and out of the house on any given day. I remember seeing random people that I didn't know that we hired in and out of the house. Neighbors were furious, thought we were selling drugs or started an e-commerce company. And then I, to this day, tell them, we did both, but only the e-commerce side worked out for us. And so, but pretty soon, we ended up moving out. But this was it. We started with a very easy premise. We believed in mobile and the rise of mobile commerce, but let's solve a very, very simple problem. And that was, hey, if you didn't have the physical means to access wholesale savings, what were your alternatives about 4 years ago? You literally, for me, I was beholden to Duane Reade or CVS in Midtown Manhattan paying about $5 for a box of Cheerios and $2.50 for a roll of Charmin. And so we wanted to solve that very simple problem. So what you're seeing is every last order that we shipped in Q1 of 2014, our first full quarter as a national business. So every blue dot represents an order that quarter. Every red dot was a warehouse club throughout the country. And so you can basically see us attacking that problem. At the end of Q1, we were high-fiving each other, saying, yeah, we're onto something. Up and down the Northeast corridor, you're seeing heat. Florida, LA County, San Francisco, Chicago. We got a lot of great orders in Chicago. The folks in Seattle really love us. Amazon's a really awesome customer of ours. test order 01 at Amazon.com, test order 02 at Amazon.com. Those, whoever name is test and order at Amazon, they're our best customer today, or in our first year they were. So it was actually really awesome. And so Q2 started come in, and we started spreading throughout the Midwest. The B2B part of our business started to grow, and so the order size got a little larger, so you see the diameters of the circles get a bit larger. And then in Q3, we basically tracked the dispersion of the US population. So at this moment, I remember thinking two things when we were sitting in my garage. One, man, we underestimated the fact that this is not just a physical means problem, this is a time and patience problem. Look at how Texas does for us. Folks in Texas have a car, and they probably have a Walmart or a Sam's Club nearby, but what they don't have increasingly is a time and patience to access wholesale savings. So that was the first insight. The second insight, we got to get the F out of my garage, because at this point in time, it was full on crazy. Like, the chip department was in the living room, baby was in the basement, and the neighbors were grabbing the pitchforks. But we found a few things along that way. Probably most relevant for this audience was that shift from the value equation from solely being about price, I would say, in my parents' generation. If you ask my mom, she'll say, if you ask her, what does value mean to you, Mrs. Huang? She'll say, price, of course, But then I ask her, what about, how you access that price? Like, how far do you have to drive, 20 minutes to save $5, Mom? She's like, I'm retired, so there's no opportunity cost for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. But what about gas? Huh? You're wasting money on the gas. But she drives an electric car because she's like a cool mom now. And then I'm like, I can never win. Like, you and my mother-in-law, like, I can't win against that duo. But so value went from price to price, convenience, and brand, right? You look at Uber versus Lyft, a quarter or 20% of the market uses Lyft these days, but they're not cheaper than Uber. They're not more convenient than Uber. There's less liquidity in their driver system, but yet people are gravitating towards it solely because of brand. So everything we do at Box hits one of those three things. We married that to a really big industry, $200 billion of top line by just 3 players, Costco, BJ's, and Sam's Club this year. 2% of it is online, 0% of it is mobile. And I think there's room for niche players. So Sam's Club shares the same parking lot with Walmart, about 60 to 70% of their locations. Why don't they build one giant mega center and just say, this is the Mega Mart? And so Sam's Club is just the 30 rows in the back. They don't do that because the folks going into a wholesale club, paying the membership fee, are looking for a different experience and a different SKU set. And so what we found is it's that B2B customer, it's that large family looking to stock up and to save. And so Sam's Club is to Walmart in the offline world, as Amazon is to Box in the online world. So if I took the SATs again, I'm pretty sure I would still not get that question right. But there's so much money being spent online these days that we feel like there's niche players that can live within the shadow of Amazon, because so much money is going to be spent online over these next 10 to 15 years. So 1,600 items, 2 to 5 items per category, enables easy and large basket selection. So our average order value is about $100. It's about 8 to 10 items per order. So there's a bunch of ways between art and science on how we make that happen. And our Prince and Spring private label is actually a really big part of our business as well. Why is it so important to jam as many things in a box as possible? Well, it's because of this. It's very simple, but Amazon has made a great business shipping things like this, wrapping a $5 bill around it and shipping out the back. Everyone else, not at Amazon scale, will probably wrap a $5.50 bill around it, a $6 bill around it. We at Box probably will wrap an $8 bill if we ship the same item. But what if we can actually take this, get a slightly different format, do a multi-pack, and then actually jam 8 to 10 multi-packs into a single box? And so as the box cost to ship it, as the shipping cost of the box starts to asymptote over time, what you find is that per unit cost of shipping eventually becomes lower and lower. So for us, if you're jamming 8 to 10 items in a box, and that box is costing anywhere from $8 to $12 to ship, then really your unit shipping cost for each item is only about $1 something. And so that's the secret of our business. Household income is high, majority female, 60% of our customers, or 64%, are between the ages of 25 to 44. We basically bookend the national wholesale clubs, which are 60% boomers and seniors. And so you won't find a lot of overlap in our customers. one brand, multiple categories in our private brand. You can see one brand across toilet paper, to nuts, to single source Colombian organic coffee pods. We have a really interesting fulfillment center, so some of the hardware is even built in-house. Our biggest team is actually our engineering team. And so what you're seeing is a super high facility, 40+ foot clear height. We build up instead of out. Again, because we're not the everything store, we can actually minimize our footprint, thereby minimizing our CapEx and minimizing our fulfillment costs with regards to labor. So this is our newest center, one of the most automated ones in the world. And so you'll see it go up and down, multiple stories of mezzanines. There's a big robotic structure that we didn't film, but it's over to your right in just a minute. Keep on going, Toad, here we go. I put my kids in here and then OSHA didn't like it, but I told them it was a fun ride and now it's safe, I know you can ride it. But we had that 4-story robotic structure on the right, and here we go, this is my favorite part. Right there, we snap a picture of the contents of your box. So how many people have ordered from Box before? Thank you very much, thank you very much. And everyone else, get the hell out. And no, go and download the app and give us 5 stars if you like it. And if you don't like the app, don't give us any stars. Just don't rate it, actually. But that camera, as some of you guys know who've ordered from us, you get a confirmation email that says your box took a selfie, right? And so, you know, millennials love it. They're like, these guys really get me. And so they love the selfie. They love it until actually, if folks come in and say, hey, I didn't get my XYZ product, we now have a visual record and actually a weight double check. So basically, we reinvented that kind of deterrent at the end of that Costco trip where they check your receipt. That's basically the digital version of that. And so that hardware team eventually grew into our robotics team, where now in some of our less automated fulfillment centers, we didn't put in the CapEx to build conveyor belts, but we built a virtual conveyor belt via an autonomous guided vehicle that we also built. So Tesla batteries, stereoscopic camera array. We built our own warehouse management software, so it's all plugged in and actually picking live orders. The LiDAR system that stops when it signals or it detects someone's in the way didn't work the first version when I tried it, so it just pulled me over. I don't know, to this day I still feel like it was on purpose by the robotics team because I bothered them too much. But this is also what we built in our facilities, so now it costs us only about a few $100,000 to get into a fully automated facility that can do over 9 figures of revenue. So for us, technology really is the core of what we do, even down to some of the hardware. We close the loop on advertising spend. Brands are now coming into Box to spend on a cost per click platform that we bought or that we actually built ourselves. And so you can come in, deploy capital, and we can actually close the ROI loop for you as a brand. So it's not like, hey, 3 million people watched my peanut video. Well, like how many peanuts did you sell? I don't know, but 3 million people watched it. But we can now tell you, hey, I don't know, 200,000 people watched the video, and actually 10,000 people actually bought it, and that yields an ROI of X. So we also provide demographic data back to the brands that we work with, visual path to purchase data as well, showing how many folks are repeat, how many folks are new, are they new to your brand, what's their urbanicity, are they a parent, what's their ethnicity, so that folks can deploy their dollars in a really interesting way. But all that boring stuff aside, one of the things that makes us really different are our people. And I think that's probably what we're most famous for these days. So I'd like to take the last few minutes to kind of walk you through the story of a gentleman named Tim that was an early employee at Boxed. So Tim was a box loader at Boxed. And so he applied, and we automate a lot of things, but box loading can't be automated. You just have to take a box, put it down on a conveyor belt, take the next box, put it down on the conveyor belt, and then load it right back onto the truck. He would do this 9 to 5, 5 days a week, overtime if he could get it. He'd go on break, come back, and there's more boxes. Oh, guess what? I'm going to load more boxes. And so it's a very straightforward, but one of the most difficult jobs in the fulfillment center. And so, you know, his title, like I said, is box loader. It's not an esoteric kind of startup title that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen. It's like he's not the chief cultural awesomeness officer or something like that, where you have no idea what he does. But Tim was the box loader, and so doing this 9 to 5 every day, we ended up promoting him. So the vast majority of our operations team and our operation and supply chain team was actually promoted from within, including Tim. And so he was the first wave of folks that we promoted. And so when we promote folks, we actually have a really nice dinner. And I always say I'm from Jersey, and this facility was in Jersey, so we'll go to really nice restaurants like Cheesecake Factory or Chili's, or this one was our first one, so it was like Seasons 52, so we went all out. So we had a private room in the back. Everyone's dressed up. For a lot of these folks, it's their first time they've ever been recognized in a corporate environment. And so it's really both awesome, awkward, and I don't know, just super inspiring at the same time. And so a lot of drinks were flowing. This was our first one. Our HR department consisted of one person who, before working in HR Box, worked at PacSun in retail, like stocking the shelves. And so he had this Supreme hat on. And so that was the extent of our HR. So he was there, didn't stop any of the alcohol flowing. So everyone had a few drinks. We're feeling good. Tim gets up and says, "I've got something to say." And so basically all the executives in the whole company are there at that moment. And I'm thinking in the back, my gosh, I was like, this will be the shortest lived promotion in the history of Boxed. And you never get drunk at the parties, Tim. And then nothing good in life, as I always say, has ever come from anyone saying, "Hold my drink, watch this." And that's what Tim basically did, and so, "Hold my drink, watch this." So he starts out, "You guys don't know me." And I'm like, well, I thought maybe we started here, it could get better, but we basically started here, and this thing's going off the rails real quick. I look over at PacSun Man, he's doing this. He's like, "Yeah, this is gonna rock." And so I'm like mortified at this point. But then Tim goes on to say that, "Hey, I am college educated. I was actually at one of the biggest law firms in New Jersey as a paralegal. I've worked there for 20 plus years, and in 2008, I got laid off. Couldn't find steady work, but throughout that time, I always thought this next tech wave was going to be really big. But I live in Central Jersey. I'm not in tech. I'm not an engineer. I never could catch that wave." And so when I saw the Craigslist ad that you guys put up for a box loader, I said, I'm overqualified for this, but I can prove to these folks my hard work and my want to join a company and to join an industry like retail and like technology. And so that's what Tim did day in and day out. So at this point in time, I'm like shirking in the back, like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen next? But Tim then searches me out and says, "For this faith in me and for this opportunity, I will never let you down." And looking back, it was really the moment of change for me and for the company, and it was a galvanizing cultural moment for our company. That folks like this all around the country are under our employ and on our team. And we're no longer the same folks in the garage anymore where we're just kind of chasing our dreams and kind of taking it a day at a time. But we have hundreds and hundreds of people that need these jobs, that need us to make the right decisions in order for them to be able to be successful. And so from that moment, as we continue to automate our facilities, usually you automate a facility and then you say, okay, 75% of the people, sayonara, Mr. Robato's got it from here, good luck, thank you very much. But after hearing that story about Tim, that just was not the right thing to do for us. And so folks just ask us all the time, why do you treat your folks so well? Well, it's because I visit the fulfillment centers almost every week that I've been in this job. I see the hard work that's being put in. I see the struggles of these folks in their daily lives, and I see the responsibility that's been put into my hands and I've been blessed with. And so when we automate our fulfillment centers, we retrained all these folks. And so now you'll find folks talking about the latest WMS kind of version that we've built. And they'll talk really succinctly about how the cubic velocity of a certain item doesn't warrant it to be in this sector of the facility, and that the WMS is not functioning correctly because X, Y, Z. And some of these folks don't even have a high school degree. And I walked by them actually about a week ago. I saw one of them speaking like that, and I was like, do I know you? Like, who the hell is that, But it's been a real sight to see. And, doing well and doing good is actually contagious even for our corporate employees. And so not a lot of folks know this, but, probably 32 states across the country still charge a luxury goods tax on feminine care products like tampons and pads. Did the women know about that? Most women know about that. A lot of women don't even know that they're being charged this luxury goods tax. And so the women of Box actually came together, banded together, and helped abolish it, at least within our platform. So if we unfairly have to charge you a luxury good tax, we rebate the tax back to you. And also, if a pink razor is 50% more than a blue razor, then we'll actually equalize the price so that you're not being unfairly taxed solely because you're a woman. Thank you very much. So this was a super easy thing for us because even for the men in the audience, I did this test. I thought, okay, if my wife called me and said, hey, can you bring home like pads or tampons? I ran out, and I said, hey, babe, did you see the GDP report this month? It's the economy's not doing well. Those are clearly luxury good items. Next month, I promise you, we'll have the money to do it. Right? So it doesn't pass the straight face test even for men, so why do we charge luxury good tax on those items? And so we rebate the tax back to you. You'll see a little no pink tax band, and now the wonderful women of Box fly all around the country to testify under oath in front of state legislatures. Just normal folks, designers, product managers, marketers have stepped up to make change to the best of their ability. And so they fly all over the country to protest in their own way, and that's to kind of have these laws abolished. So these are the wonderful women that worked on this initiative, including Stanley the dog, who is a female, I've checked. But her name is Stanley, and she's the office dog. But I hope, over the last 20 minutes, I've been able to share our story with you guys. I know there's a lot of different things out there about us, but a lot of folks don't know what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And over the last few moments that we've shared together here, hopefully you have a little bit of a flavor of kind of what Box really is about. So thank you very much, everyone.